What if I told you that what's unfolding in today's headlines was seen long ago by eyes that look beyond our world? Prophecy. It's a word that either stirs fascination or skepticism. Some see it as a roadmap from ages past, loaded with riddles, each event a piece of a divine puzzle. Others dismiss it as folklore from an ancient time, irrelevant to the world we live in today. But what if these prophecies are more than relics? What if they're unfolding right now in real time? Stay tuned and see if you agree.
Revelation speaks of a future where people will be marked in order to buy and sell, a sign of absolute control over humanity's most basic freedoms. Science fiction? Maybe. But look around. Implantable microchips are already becoming a reality, and the idea of digital identity linked to everything from payments to medical records is inching closer to acceptance. It may seem futuristic, but it's also unnervingly familiar to what the Bible described.
Revelation chapter 13 verses 16 and 17. It also forced all people to receive a mark on their right hands or their foreheads, so that they could not buy or sell unless they had the mark.
Or take the current tensions in the Middle East, for example. There are many biblical prophecies that talk about a future conflict in this region and how it will eventually lead to a global war. Of course, we can't say for sure when these prophecies will definitely come true, but it's certainly interesting to see how current events seem to be aligning with them. Fear has settled deep into the American psyche, gripping the nation like a dark cloud that looms over daily life. The uncertain path of the election casts long shadows, dividing neighbors, friends, and families as battle lines are drawn not just in policy, but in personal identity. Every news report becomes a mirror, reflecting anxieties that many hope to escape. Grocery stores, once symbols of abundance, have become reminders of inflation's chokehold on everyday necessities. The prices for basic items like eggs, milk, and bread seem to rise by the week, leaving many to make gut-wrenching choices between food and other essentials. Gas stations, too, have become sites of stress, where filling up feels like watching dollars fly out of your pocket as prices inch ever higher. Every fill-up, every shopping trip feels like an unending reminder that the basics of survival are getting further out of reach.
Then I heard what sounded like a voice among the four living creatures saying, 2 pounds of wheat for a day's wages, and 6 pounds of barley for a day's wages, and do not damage the oil and the wine.
But one of the most compelling examples I've come across is the prophecy of Ezekiel 38, which talks about a future war between Israel and a coalition of nations led by Russia. But consider this. In recent years, we've seen Russia become increasingly involved in the Middle East, and its relationships with Israel have grown more and more tense. It's possible that we're seeing the stage being set for this very prophecy to come true. Meanwhile, natural disasters have taken on a surreal consistency, as if they're no longer unpredictable acts of nature, but hauntingly regular visitors. Tornadoes, floods, wildfires. Many wonder if there's any safe haven left. FEMA, stretched thin by constant demand, struggles to keep up, deepening the feeling of vulnerability. Can the agency provide the help it promises if the disasters keep coming? For some, it feels like the clock is ticking down to a time that no one can predict, but everyone fears. America finds itself haunted by crises on multiple fronts, an election that divides, prices that strain, disasters that devastate, and the looming shadow of war.
Do not think that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I have not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to set a man against his father, and a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law.
As I moved through the day, a striking young man caught my eye, handsome, built with a strength that commanded attention. As he approached, I readied myself, a friendly greeting on my lips. "Hello," I said with a polite nod. But his gaze met mine with a cold, dismissive sneer before he walked past, leaving my words hanging in the air, unanswered. My mind raced back to my own youth. Back then, respect flowed naturally, especially toward the older generation. What had shifted? I'd never met him before, had done nothing to earn his disdain. So what force gripped his spirit, pulling him toward such callousness? Was it rebellion, indifference, or something darker? I wondered, almost in a shiver. Could there be a spirit, a pervasive force ensnaring not only the young but the old as well?
25 years ago, a young couple welcomed their greatest joy, a radiant baby girl named Amanda. For her parents, it felt like a dream woven straight from the silver screen. They were young, in love, with a cozy home, and now the ultimate blessing, a daughter they saw as a gift from God himself. Dan, Amanda's father couldn't be prouder. He spoke of her constantly, telling everyone he knew about his precious little girl. Amanda quickly became his world, and every moment spent with her made her the apple of his eye. As the years passed, Amanda grew into a vibrant child, throwing herself wholeheartedly into school, community events, and most passionately, church. She thrived in the sanctuary, learning Bible verses, joining in worship, singing her heart out in the choir. Faith was her foundation, her guiding light. But in her late teens, a shadow seemed to fall over Amanda. Dan noticed it first. She began to pull away, becoming distant. Her once kind demeanor replaced by irritability and disdain. Amanda shunned the church, withdrew from her family, and retreated into a dark, brooding style that clashed with her childhood brightness. Her door remained shut more than it was open. Her heart, a mystery locked away. Dan, a man of deep faith, struggled with a mix of heartbreak and helplessness. His gentle attempts to reach her were met with silence or scorn. One day, the storm inside Amanda broke loose. She erupted, unleashing a torrent of anger and bitter words that left her parents shaken. And then, in a voice filled with venom, she delivered the words that tore Dan's soul. "I wish I'd never been born. There is no God." In that instant, Dan's heart shattered. What had happened to his sweet, innocent little girl? His mind raced, haunted by the echoes of a love that had somehow slipped through his fingers.
What would drive an innocent child to suddenly turn against her family, seemingly overnight? And why do we see such growing disdain for our elders, those who paved the way for us? Let's not sugarcoat it. The answer is simple, yet terrifying. Influence and distraction, masterminded by the ultimate deceiver, Satan himself. Think about it. Social media, it's always there, whispering in their ears, shaping their thoughts. Television, hours of programming designed to numb minds and warp perspectives. Music, songs filled with negative messages, promoting violence and self-destruction. Home life, parents too busy or too distracted to guide their children. Peer pressure, kids are easily swayed by their friends, who may not always have their best interests at heart. The church, even places of worship, can be infiltrated by harmful ideologies. And then there are the distractions. Work, endless hours spent chasing the dollar, leaving little time for family. Sporting events, hyped-up crowds cheering for violence and aggression. Elections, constant political battles dividing the nation. Concerts, loud music, drugs and promiscuity. Movies, hours of escapism filled with unrealistic fantasies.
Mark 9:4. Whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it would be better for him if a great millstone were hung around his neck and he were thrown into the sea.
Give you a live look now from the state capitol, and controversy brewing tonight over a trio of bills some parents say push a, quote, transgender agenda. One of the bills would ensure a child's gender identity is included in child custody cases.
CBS 13's Andrew Hodner live at the Capitol breaking down the bill and the backlash.
Yeah, guys, so the bill in question is Assembly Bill 957, which essentially, when a judge is making a determination in the family court system about giving custody to one parent or another, one of the criteria included in the health, safety, and welfare of a child would be a parent's affirmation of a child's chosen identity. That's if this bill was codified into law. Opponents say that if a parent does not affirm their child's identity, they can be charged with child abuse. But the bill's author says that that's a misconception, and this bill is solely about helping marginalized groups.
Thank you.
It was an emotional gathering on the Capitol grounds.
Please, I don't want any parent to feel what I feel every single day of my life.
Groups opposed to Assembly Bill 957 telling CBS 13 they are fighting for parental rights.
AB 957 is a bill that will now elevate not affirming your child's gender identity, whatever gender identity they choose.
Parents told stories of lost custody, citing gender affirmations and identity as a cause.
This is a photograph of a child worker who was one of 102 found working at a meatpacking plant in the US. And the sad part is that this is not a unique story. Since 2015, the number of minors employed in violation of child labor laws has increased by 472% in the US. It's been becoming like a bigger and bigger problem every year for the last decade or so. These kids are not doing summer jobs or babysitting. They're working in slaughterhouses with explosives and with dangerous chemicals as well.
The beast system already has a grip on your children, and you might not even realize it. Don't believe me. Let's break it down with a few eye-opening examples. Have you ever had a young child in your home running around, singing Taylor Swift lyrics word for word all day long? Drop a 1 in the comments if this sounds familiar. They remember every lyric, yet somehow struggle to recall their homework assignments. Interesting, isn't it? Let's dig deeper.
For Swifties, seeing Taylor Swift live is a dream come true. But for some of these die-hard fans, they have no memory of their concert experience. It's being called Taylor amnesia. You heard that right. Some fans can't remember the concert they attended just moments earlier. That's what happened to 32-year-old Nicole Booz, who saw Taylor earlier this month in Philadelphia.
You spent almost $1,000 on a ticket, right? And you can't remember anything?
It felt like so surreal. Afterwards, as we were leaving, I was like, did she play this song? I don't remember this song. I don't remember her doing that. And just little things like that. But I do remember going to the concert.
See if you can guess the word behind Beyoncé. Is this a strange coincidence?
Is that you, O troubler of Israel?
The Beehive is what you call the stans. The people who are standing for Beyonce.
One of the craziest, most devoted super fan groups I've ever encountered.
In their eyes, literally, she is a saint. It goes Jesus, Beyonce, Mother Teresa.
Welcome to my apartment, number 4. You know, Beyonce's favorite number. I have to have a little bit of the Beehive to, just to remind me before I go out in the day to be great. If you go around, you'll see like little hints of Beyonce. This is one of my favorites, actually a gift from a friend. Says, what will Beyonce do? These are things you have to think about before you go outside.
I'm at Grace Cathedral in San Francisco, California. Hundreds of folks are gonna come here to witness the Beyonce Mass, bringing together secular music and a religious message to tell a story of empowerment for particularly women of color, but for anyone who happens to sing praises to the goddess herself, Beyonce. Here we go.
Y'all, I'm out of breath because we sang Beyonce in church. Holy cow.
Imagine a gathering under a crimson sky, where throngs of people ascend a high hill crowned with stone altars. Their chants echo in the air, mingling with the hypnotic rhythms of drums and the seductive sway of dancers under the light of flickering torches. This was Baal worship, a spectacle of indulgence, power, and raw human desire. But to dismiss it as a relic of the past is a grave mistake. The spirit of Baal thrives today, cloaked in the trappings of modern culture, its patterns unmistakably familiar to anyone who dares to look closely.
But the darkest stain of Baal worship was its cost. Children. Some were sacrificed, their lives extinguished on altars of selfish ambition and unrestrained immorality. 2 Kings 16:3-4. How different is this from the millions of unborn lives ended today under the guise of convenience? The abortion parallels are haunting. What they don't tell you is they burned the children on their altar. The agony was so bad, they beat the drums louder to drown out the innocent children's screams. Why was Baal worship so compelling? The answer lies in its seductive promise of unbridled liberty, thrilling entertainment, and societal acceptance. It provided a stage for music and dance, a network for trade and business, and an excuse to indulge every craving without consequence. Or so it seemed. Believers in Yahweh often found themselves torn, unable to fully reject the allure of the parties and the connections they fostered. Standing apart meant being ostracized, losing business opportunities, and forfeiting social status. 2 Kings 23:7-20. The rituals of Baal worship weren't just religious acts. They were integral to the economy and culture of the time. Guilds demanded participation, financial contributions, and compliance with their rules. To bow out was to lose your livelihood. Ultimately, Baal worship wasn't just about golden idols and ancient rituals. It was and is about the human heart's inclination to exalt anything above God. Whether through ancient altars or modern screens, the idolatry remains the same. A seductive blend of pleasure, power, and conformity, all raised against the lordship of Christ. The question remains, will we bow or will we stand apart?